Good evening, everyone. It's Tom Sydney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Psych Club from the Tom Numbers Show and News with Tom Numbers. And I've got my buddy ISMAEL, PEREZ. ISMAEL, how are you, mate? It's good to see you.
You too, Tom. It's been a while. How you been?
It has been a while, man. It's been a few months. We usually do probably something like this. It's been a good couple of months. So I've been very good, man. Just very busy. Been
Yes.
I've created my locals channel, which is doing really very well. So thanks everyone for that. If you're watching this video, you'll probably get this in time, but it's still at, well, it's $54 for the year. It's going to go to $72 in 48 hours. So get in now, links below. I'm loving your hat, your Trump hat. And I know you've tried the sleeping pod. The links are below for that. I sleep well on it. I know Ishmael's had some really good positive experiences with it as well, mate. And now you've encouraged me to get a Trump hat because that looks great, man. I need to get one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I tend to trigger people here in California when I wear this hat, but I don't care. You know, people give me dirty looks or they do this with their head. or if you have the nerve, like yesterday, I was at a cash register at Whole Foods, and this lady decided to question me and say, "Make America great from what?" And I says, "Aren't you aware of the deep state?" And she looked at me and she said, "No, Trump is the deep state." You know, I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, all right. You know what? You must be unaware of what's really happening." And then she decides to say, "No, you're unaware of what's really happening." And at that point, I just ignored her. I was like, "I ain't gonna waste my time with people who are unawakened. If you want to continue voting for Mr. For Brandon because you think that T is the bad guy, well then continue drinking the Kool-Aid because in the end, you're all going to be shocked when the truth comes out."
Exactly. Well, you know what you can tell them next time you get a comment, ISMAEL, is you can say, "I've got my buddy Tom Numbers, and he's a whiz with the numbers, and he tells me this." So you're in California. The word California, when you spell it out, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, comes to 88, which is also Trump. So you can say, "Hey, California, you might not like it, but you live in a place which equals 88 and 88 equals Trump." And they'll go, "Huh? Huh?" So you can bamboozle them with that. And it comes to purple. So when the two parties, when the Reds and the Blues merge, there'll be a new party, which is 88, which is purple, which is Trump. So that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Exactly. I think even my pendant's purple today. Yeah, it is.
Talking about a new party, what do you think about Robert F. Kennedy running as independent, neither Republican or Democrat? I think that's brilliant because when you really think about our founding fathers, when they first established this country, they didn't set up a two-party system. That was all done by the cabal when they infiltrated us through what's his name, Madison. Remember, Madison wanted more centralized control, and then Jefferson wanted more independent state control, right? So, the all-time battle between the fascist and the nation-state democracies. So when you think about it, this country was originally founded on a no-party system, which makes sense, and that's why I strongly agree on being independent, because that's what it's all about, This whole idea of having a two-party system, as you know, has been orchestrated by the shadow government that took over this country. And really what they were telling us, or what they were giving us, is the only option of the evil to the left or the evil to the right. You have no other choice. And that's what it boiled down to, of course, until Mr. T came into the scene and kind of threw a monkey wrench in their double controlled system. Because even for many years the Republicans were under the control of the deep state. For example, the Bushes. I'm sorry, I know you're a Bush too, but the Bushes are actually
I'm a Bushnell, not a Bush. I'm a Bushnell.
Oh, okay.
They're just half of, they're less than half. So no, I'm a Bushnell. 93 Bushnell is Nazareth.
Oh, I didn't know that. Right. Well, sorry to say that, brother.
Hungarian. It's Flotus. There's all kinds of great things. 93. The pure is 93 Bushnell. But anyway, I know what you're saying, buddy. So yeah. And you've got others as well. You've got rhinos, haven't you? So you had Mike Pence, the deplorable Mike Pence, and Mitt Romney, who just makes my skin crawl. From even before all of 2020, I instantly heard him as just that you are fake as can be. Yes. Fake as can be. Just slimy.
exactly. All of the Republicans, with the exception of Reagan, and the exception, I would have to even say that Nixon was not
No,
controlled by
Reagan
the.
and Nixon were good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know. That's why,
yeah,
Nixon, when he found out the truth, he stepped down. He says, "There's no way I'm going to be a puppet for you guys. I'm
yeah,
stepping down."
yeah.
And then, of course, there was an attempt to assassinate Reagan. Um, so when you think about it, those that have been attempted to be assassinated are actually the good guys.
Yeah,
You know, and the only
exactly.
reason the only reason why Trump was able to or was free from that is because of the fact that Trump has his own secret police. He didn't trust the government to give him the secret police. He hired his own secret police, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why was very hard for them to assassinate Trump. Otherwise, he probably would have tried to assassinate him. You know, but I
I'm sure
also
they've
believe that Trump,
tried, but you can't. You know what his son Eric said a few years ago during 2020, I think it was, and it was at a rally. And Eric hadn't spoken that much. He does more now, but it was one of the rare occasions when he was speaking, and he basically said his father's immortal. He said he can never die. He just said it in front of everyone. I was like, is everyone listening? It's like, you can't touch him. It's like, it's impossible because of who he is and what he is, And he said he can never die. He'll never die. He can never die.
well,
So
he
he's got
also,
protection. He's got protection. He's got divine protection, off-world
he
protection.
does. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
being protected by the Venusians, by Valiant Thor and the Council of Venus. He's being protected by the Pleiadians. He's being protected by the Syrians and all the positive extraterrestrials that are working in favor of us. And most importantly, because get this kind of ties into
I'd
the
also
time.
suggest as well, probably the Arcturians, because I think there's a big connection with Trump with Arcturians as well. Because
Yes, there
Arcturian is 105 Triumph. The Arcturian is 138 Donald Trump. So I think I think he's a mix of a number of players, probably like you and me and others are. There's probably a mix of us, but or of the different star systems. But I think there's a connection with. I get that there's a connection with Trump being an Arcturian as well as the others,
I would I wouldn't be surprised. Nowadays we're all kind of mixed. It's not just like we don't have one star family genetic lineage. We have multiple star family genetic lineages. And it's there is a name for that. It's called hybrid soul. And I think that
Yeah.
that's what makes us unique here on the earth, is that a lot of us are hybrid souls from, we've had lifetimes in all these other different solar systems throughout the Milky Way and other parts of our universe. But going back to time travel, my friend, do you know that there is a group of people that call themselves the Guardians of the Looking Glass, which is a future version of humans that come from the future,
Yeah.
from an organization called Time Corps, which is very fascinating to think that there is
Time Corps.
Time Corps. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they're coming from the future, and I think that's why Nikola Tesla was the first one to develop time travel in the late 1800s. And John Trump, and even before John Trump's uncle, I think that John Trump's not only knew Nikola Tesla, but also his brother. I think the Trumps already had they had been time traveling 40 years before the cabal, and I think that's the reason why the so-called future humans, also known as the Guardians of the Looking Glass technology, were able to travel back in time to pretty much show us that the good guys, because they developed time travel before the bad guys, were able to outsmart and outnumber on every probability their win against the deep state. And so by the time it got to the deep state, by the time it got to them developing time travel in the 1950s, right, beginning with the Philadelphia experiment, the Montauk Project, and then later Project Pegasus, which a lot of it has to do with this, advanced alien and reverse engineer technology that the military industrial complex was trying to implement. But when they perfected time travel in the 50s, they had already lost on every probability. They were trying to figure it out. We're like, what happened? How come no matter what we do, no matter how many times we alternate the timeline, it always bounces back to the white hats winning? They were trying to figure it out. Well, hello. It was Tesla who was already time traveling with the Trumps. Well, not Trump himself, but his uncle. with the earlier Trumps in order to secure the victory for the white hats. And so now there is evidence that the white hats had access to time travel technology way before the military industrial complex did, which was fascinating information when I first found out that, that there are such thing called the Guardians of the Looking Glass. Now, because there is a time war taking place, obviously, on many different levels of reality, right? There are these guardians that exist at the highest levels called the Time Lords. And I think the Time Lords are somehow intricately connected with the Guardians of the Looking Glass, who are future humans, us, right? That are coming back in time in order to preserve their timeline, because again, we are ultimately fighting a war with AI. And something that they did point out was that at the end of 2030, all of the probable timelines and all of the different alternative multi-Earths that exist, they all collapse into only two timelines. And one of them, they called it a timeline where the white hats eliminate the dark hats and bring about the golden age through disclosure and a better system that favors humanity and the environment. And then the other timeline, they called it a technocratic dystopia. And guess where those probabilities collapsed? Guess what year it was that those probabilities collapsed into those two permanent timelines? Can you guess the year?
You just said 230, but I think it probably collapses before.
Well, I hope so. But they said that when they were time traveling, they couldn't get past 2030, because at 2030, that was when this reality construct was ending. And that's why they're offering two more. That's why there are two possible reality constructs that you could either go into after 2030, and that is the golden age, the new heaven on Earth, where the good guys restore the planet from the dark side, and then there is the technocratic AI dystopia timeline as well, where unfortunately some of the people are going to be going into, right? That's the path of the Antichrist. So it's fascinating how they can't get past 2030, which brings me to the next point. I come to understand that this AI that we're fighting, otherworldly ancient AI, has connected with itself on every probable time space, you could say, on in every part of our history, all the way from the beginning to the future. So this AI system, through time travel, has already connected itself deep into the future, into the present, and in our ancient times. It's all one and the same. So it is believed that the current reality construct that we are existing in was a matrix, was a simulation that was created by the Animus. The Animus has been monitoring our civilization for millions of years, and that's what we're fighting, by the way. So even the dark cats and the negative aliens like the reptilians are all working for this AI system called the Animus. So the Animus, 6,000 years ago after the flood, reset reality to make us believe that that's why all the calendars started 6,000 years ago. They were trying to reset everything. They were trying to make us forget about the civilizations that existed prior to the flood in pre-diluvial times. So what they did is they created a further matrix, and that's when the fall came from the reality we were existing in prior to 6,000 years ago, which was a better world. We fell into this third dimensional simulation that was actually created by artificial intelligence. But this is the thing, Tom. This simulation was only programmed to run 6,000 years, and guess when it ends? 2030. Isn't that a coincidence? So yeah, when I've stumbled upon how all probable futures, all infinite number of timelines collapse at 2030 with two outcomes: one positive golden age, right, with no nefarious, no poisoning of the food, no chemtrails, none of that crap, no 5G. And then the other one goes into the what they call the technological singularity, the fourth industrial revolution. Makes perfect sense. And that's why people are given the choice right now, through their actions, through their thoughts, and most importantly, through what they choose to believe, to either go into the positive ascending timeline which is also known as the organic timeline, by the way, because that's what's happening is when this simulation ends, which is any day now, they say no later than 2030, you realize that our consciousness is going to have to go into a new type of reality. So we're either going to have to go into the organic reality, which is a reality that has always been there, by the way. It so happens that this AI, this Animus that created this simulation, this 6,000-year simulation that's been running for 6,000 years, all it did is further plunge us into all it did is create layers that were blocking the real reality from this, type of existence that we've been having for the last 6,000 years, which is really a type of existence where it costs a lot of, it caused humans to undergo suffering, struggle, hardships and stuff like that, which makes a lot of sense, because when humans are experiencing hardships and struggles, the AI feeds off of that energy, right? It's called loosh when you think about it. So when I discovered this, the more I came to understand that the matrix is actually dead on. That the reality we're existing in, including all the institutions that are designed to indoctrinate people into this reality, like religion, the educational system, the scientific community, Tom, it's all controlled by this AI. It was all, that's why when you watch the movie The Matrix, it is so true when Morpheus tells Neo that these people, that are part of the Matrix will fight you to the end to support their belief systems or limited belief systems regarding this illusionary reality. And that makes a lot of sense. Those are the people that are conformed to organized religion, that are conformed to whatever the mainstream media tells them, the educational curriculum, right? They believe everything face value without questioning nothing. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So basically, the whole point is that the Great Awakening is about rediscovering it and reconnecting with the old reality that existed prior to 6,000 years ago. That's what it's all about, which is a better world, a world that is awaiting for us. And I do believe that when this current simulation construct crumbles, which is already crumbling, by the way, this paradigm, we're going to be restored back to the original reality, heaven on earth, the organic way of life, or we're going to go into the technological singularity, what they call the fourth industrial revolution, controlled by AI. But yeah, those are the only two options. And then, of course, there is going to be one final war at the end of the millennium between those two timelines that will ultimately determine one outcome. At that point, after 1,000 years, there's only going to be one outcome permanently existing, which I know it's the organic timeline, because that war at the end of the millennium fought between us, but us in our full potential, using our full deck, using all our strands and all our dormant inactive genetics. We win that war. We do win that war, and because it's all happening right now, the future is already taking place. So from what I do understand is the only reason we're still existing right now and we haven't ceased to exist, right, is because we won that war. However, if the AI would have won that war at the end of the millennium, guess what? We would have all erased right now. So that's the only reason why we're still here, is because our future selves won that war at the end of the millennium. So this reality construct is ending any day now, and that's why the dark forces are trying so hard to create a even further entrapment through a digital type of reality, cybernetics, whatever you want to call it, matrix, where they really want to entrap us forever, of course, in a machine, right?
Yeah,
which is totally the path of the Antichrist.
It's interesting. It's interesting you talk about the. So I did a show about the Matrix this week because the newspaper. I don't know if you saw it in the US, but do you see this, my friend?
Matrix may be real. Oh yeah.
So that came out on Thursday here in the UK, and I've been talking about the Matrix and the simulation for a long time, and I haven't got the picture of it, unfortunately, but the other newspaper, the Sun newspaper, talked about Captain Tom, another character, but basically said Tom and then the Matrix is real. So it was the two papers next to each other. So I was like, okay, thank you. I got that Godwink. And I've met Keanu Reeves briefly, and I met Trinity, Carrie Ann Moss. I got a picture with her. Trinity's 115, which is November 5th, 11/5. Trinity's reference in Oppenheimer, the film. But you were talking about the about this whole thing of guardians of the looking glass. So looking glass is 141, which is quantum leap, which is reincarnation. It's Tom Bushnell, Mark Atwood, my friend that I do shows with. So if you take this further, if you do Guardians is 94, which is interesting, which is Ace of Spades, which is John, which is November. Now I feel that we're going to see something amazing next election, November 5th. I keep getting codes on that. I see all the good things that we've wanted. I see the old system dropping and the new one rising. I see everything at that time, that period, a week to remember. All of that I think is all going to be then. I think that's when we see people like John, Princess Diana, many others come forth and start. Because the thing is, people have to have a proper choice. Because people have been under this this environment of black magic, of deception, of lies, of AI, all this stuff, people have to have a clear choice. So some of us that have, quote unquote, been stronger in the certain conscious realms have been able to kind of fight through it and see things. We still don't see the full picture clearly, but we see a lot. That's why we're truthers. That's why we're doing what we're doing, and people seek us and look at our knowledge. People need, for want of a better word, they want authority in certain realms, but ultimately everybody needs full disclosure. And I believe from that point on is when we start to see full disclosure. Then we have a free choice. Then we have a clear choice. And then so whether it's, I think it will be as early as that point next year. But if it runs to 2030, people have to have a real clear choice. They have to know exactly what they're signing up to. None of this kind of, veiled, doing your best in the dark with a little tinkling bell, getting some insights. You have to have full disclosure. And then that's when people know exactly where people's hearts are. So I think that point comes from that point on, from the election onwards, because the calling election made sure is that election. That's when it is. You also mentioned this. So Jeopardy is actually 94. You didn't mention that, but I did that number earlier today, which is interesting. So organic timeline. Organic is 67, which is reset, which is water, which is exchange. Organic timeline is 154, which is the second coming. Anorganic timeline is 169, which is the Great Awakening, which is Trump Tower, which is Thomas Bushnell, which is Elizabeth Tower, where the Big Ben. You watch that. Something's happening around Parliament. You just watch what's coming. You said the war at the end of the millennium, 295, which actually is President Donald John Trump, which is interesting. Which is also Book of Revelation, the power, the Christ. Interesting. So that's interesting how those numbers tally up. But the other thing as well, you were talking about the artificial. You're talking about the simulation and the artificial intelligence. So if you do the simulations 166, which is also the White House, which is also the government, they're all the same value. But also artificial intelligence is 203. So if you do the simulation 166 plus artificial intelligence, it actually comes to 369, which are the Tesla numbers. And so that's why both sides know the power of the numbers. So when Tesla said, if you knew the power of 3, 6, and 9, you'd have a key to the universe. 3, 6, and 9. But it makes sense that the other side would know the power of that. Hence, even in our English language, that it comes to 3, 6, 9. So both sides know it. Both sides know it. So 3, 6, 9 is the key for us to escape this realm, this matrix. And I think and you talked about belief as well. I think it does come down to that. Whatever we believe is what we produce. But because our beliefs are produced and influenced via deception, lies, cloaking, nefarious tricks, magic, all that stuff, that's when people, if they're the power generators, if their soul is told an incorrect thing, they're going to manifest incorrect realities, and they're going to manifest more of the lies. That's why we have to have full disclosure. Full disclosure is 176, Back to the Future, November the 5th. Full
Yeah.
conclusion is 176. Level playing field is 176. We have to have all of these things in place. Then that's when we have the power to produce, because we're the magic manifestors, that's when we have the power to produce the correct timeline, the truth that we want. That's when people will have a correct choice, because right now it's still cloudy. It's still cloudy. Even for us lot, it's still cloudy. But when we get full disclosure, the veil is parted, everything is revealed. That's when you can choose correctly. And that's when people can manifest correctly, because they're not being influenced by these other forces you mentioned and a whole bunch of others. That's when the full disclosure, that's when full growth, that's when full truth, that's when full revelation, and that's when full manifestation actually occurs. And that's when we can create this glorious timeline, because without it, without full disclosure, without full revelation, we're just recycling the same old crap, maybe at different levels, but you have to get rid of the whole damn lot and have full disclosure and know exactly everything about everything. That's when you can choose.
Exactly. See, so this, you're right, absolutely. You know, the collective construct that is being held together by this false simulation that we're in is only held together by the collective consciousness. But because there are individuals that are waking up at a mass scale now due to, you know, the higher influx of energies that are pouring in from the galactic central sun via our sun into our planet, causing the core of the planet to heat up, therefore raising the vibrational frequency, which it translates as the consciousness raising out of the construct. And because people are breaking off from that construct, guess what? This AI simulation is losing power and control. And that explains why there's a lot of leaks. It's like a dam, you know, there's a lot of leaks in the collective construct. Eventually, once we get enough people to wake up, it's just going to cause when the dam breaks and the veil is gone, and all of a sudden we see reality for what it is, which again, it is down to the type of reality that existed prior to 6,000 years from now.
Yes. Hallelujah. Bring it on, buddy. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Talking in the 369 as well. If you do three is 56, which is light, which is healing. 6 is 52, which is earth, which is heart. And 9 is 42, which is new. So 3, 6, 9, or if you do 3, 6, and 9, because Tesla said if you only knew the power of 3, 6, and 9, and is 19, which is DNA. So 3, 6, and 9, it comes to a 169, which is the Great Awakening 169. So everything's been coded. Everything's been coded, you see, you know?
It's like it's almost like our reality is seriously run the way a computer is. You know, you have the browsers, right? You have the what is called the way when you're playing a video game, it is the exact same formula that is implemented in a video game that they've been doing in our reality, you know, and that's it's important to understand that we have to make that choice now. We have to make that choice. And I think a lot of people are catching on to that. But you could be right, Tom, because I predicted that something big was happening on 2024 years ago, like 10, 15 years ago. I think when I first came into the scene, I talked about the significance of 2024.
Yeah.
And I think that is when there is that bifurcation, right? Where, again, you know, you either have a choice to go into the positive ascending organic new heaven on earth, or this technocratic dystopia that is being generated by the same system that created the simulation after the fall of Atlantis. And I wouldn't be surprised, my friend, if this was the same entity that caused the fall of Atlantis, influencing those negative Anunnaki that decided to side with the energies of the Antichrist, which again expresses itself through technology, and especially in the form of artificial intelligence.
Yeah. It is, man. It's coming. It's November 5th. There's only one date in history, or one date in the calendar that we're told to remember. There are lots of important dates, don't get me wrong, they are, and they will all be revealed and everything will thread together. But there's only one in our popular culture, well, historical culture, that we've been told to remember, and it's remember the 5th of November. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that they've chosen that election to take place on the leap year, because that's when the major jumps happen. Leap is jump. It's jump year, leap year. 2020, lockdowns, everything happened. We've never experienced that. Was a massive year, 2020. And then we've been trundling along with all the rest of the stuff, you watch when we go into 2024, which you were correctly saying about something massive, that election happens on the leap year, but there's also a scriptural phrase which is the calling and election made sure. What's that about? We were all called. Some of us accepted it, some of us didn't. Some are still being called. The call is always put out. People always have the free chance to come and join in and stand up. But the calling and election made sure, what's that about? It's an election. It's being made sure, because we know what happened with 2020, and whether they resolve it before then or it goes up until that point, I don't know. But everything, that time has been set up since this whole thing incepted, since this whole thing was created. Even in our vocabulary, you say things like thank you or love you. That comes to 115. 115 comes to intelligence, which is the basis of everything. 115 is a date, is 11/5, which is November 5th. They picked that date for a reason. Everything, this is the mother of all mothers. This is the thing that's coming, you know. And you talk about the computer analogy. So you've got the mothership, you've got the New Jerusalem, the dove, the mothership. What's a big thing in a computer? It's a motherboard, a mothership, motherboard. So if you've got the mothership, the motherboard, you think of it kind of below. Maybe it's above, and then all these projections, all these characters are being done in the computer, in the simulation. Because computer is 111, perfection is 111, but illusion is 111. And all of those things are going on, but the mothership, motherboard, I mean, there's a close connection between those phrases. And it's like, well, what the heck's going on? That's the mind-boggling thing about this. It's like, this is a big, God is 26, game is 26, you know? It's like, there's 26 letters in the alphabet. It's like, it just carries on and on and on. The more you peer into it, the more and more you see that this is all something way beyond what we first thought. But the magic of it is we get to unpick it and to experience it and actually have it talk back to us. You know, the simulation is always winking at us. It's always giving us God winks. It's always guiding us. And everything, the more I see it, everything has all been set up since the beginning of the game. And as we go into this point of disclosure, like you say, there's all these holes in the system. It can't be stopped now. There's all these holes in the dike, all these holes in the wall. You know,
just a matter of time before it collapses.
Just a matter of time, exactly. Just a matter of time.
Well, that explains the idea that at the end of 6,000 years, the simulation collapses. See, their idea was to keep us so programmed and so limited in our, from discovering who we truly are, that they thought that they were gonna, okay, so after this simulation expires, all we're gonna do is just transfer them over to an even more, I guess,
brutal simulation.
A worse type of a simulation in a digital reality. See, that was the end game for these, again, the machine that we are fighting on all different levels of reality. And even our ancestors, by the way, and future humans have been affected by this. And that explains the gray phenomena, the digressed species that have time traveled in order to save their dying race. And that explains all of that, because those are all future versions of different parallel Earths that have gone the non-organic way. And as a result of that, have lost the ability to ascend naturally. And so the whole purpose of ascension is to be able to do it naturally, right? Through the opening of the stargates, right? When there is an alignment between harmonic universes, we're able to move up frequencies, octaves, into a greater reality, a less dense or more fluid-like reality, where we are much further, than being trapped in these physical bodies of flesh and bone that are limited, that die, that age, that are handicapped in a way compared to the real bodies that are less physical, more about regarding the light body. In other words, like that's where we started from, and that's what we're eventually going to reach back on. But yeah, the whole purpose is that all the negative races have lost their ability to ascend organically, and so we can't afford to do the same. You know what I mean? And all the positive races, by the way, all the different types of ETs out there that have done it organically are just future versions of ourselves that are successful, you know, that have been successful. That's all it is. So everything boils down to the organic way of life or the inorganic way of life.
It's interesting to talk about the future and the finer, more refined, more intelligent, purer, more fluid, you know, levels of reality of life. So the word spirit is 91. The word future is also 91. The word liberty is also 91. So spirit, future, which is the direction we're going in, liberty, they're all the same, all 91. Space Force is 91 and POTUS is 91. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I think of Star Wars, so the character Yoda. So I'm going to misquote Yoda. Misquote me, shall you? Yeah. But Yoda's 45, which is 45th president. So he's this wise Jedi master that's, you know, appears as something that he's not, and then has this magical power. And even though Trump is powerful, people don't understand who he is fully. They still don't get it. But Yoda talks about the body, and he says these crude. He says basically we're beings of luminous light, not these crude kind of decaying things like you've mentioned. You know, so even Yoda back then in Empire Strikes Back is quoting and or being quoted as describing this reality of the Force and of spirit and of the higher dimensions and the higher capabilities, not this thing that we're stuck on this mainframe, being these, you know, physical fleshy avatars and trying to get the hell out of it, you know. So anyway, that's my Yoda misquote.
No, but you're absolutely 100% correct, though. You know, we descended from higher realities where our body was less dense and more light. We had subtle vehicles, not as gross. You know, we were able to freely traverse the different dimensional planes of reality as multidimensional beings. Our consciousness was full; it wasn't limited. It was, you know, it was at full capacity. We were all connected to this unified field, now discovered through quantum physics, called, you know, unified field, right? This universal consciousness of awareness that exists and permeates all of existence. And then we were also connected, and then by virtue of that, we were therefore connected to what? To the forces of nature, to the animals, to you know, planets, to solar systems. We were connected to all life. And that's where we're heading, brother. That's where we're heading for those that are, you know, deciding to awaken from this false illusionary reality that we're currently in. That, by the way, is collapsing very soon. So yeah, so these stuff, they were going to like trick us and keep us all suppressed, so that they were just going to shift our, you know, from this matrix into a further worser matrix. But again, that's not the case, because, you know, a lot of us chose to wake up, and a lot of us are going to return back to the organic reality, which also corresponds to the fifth dimensional Terra Earth, which has always been here. It has always been here. It's just that through this veil, these layers, these false layers that were imposed by this simulation, this, you know, artificial construct, was preventing us from no longer interacting with the real world. Which again brings me back to the allegory of the cave, when Plato talked about the shadows in the cave, how, you know, reality is likened to the shadows in the cave. Do you know about the allegory of the cave in Plato?
I've heard of it, but I wouldn't be able to quote it. I guess I might have not even known it was Plato. Now that you say it's Plato, it makes sense. But it could be Aristotle, and I'd be like, yeah, it sounds. But I've heard that, but I don't know what it is. So I'll have to take all your info on that. Yeah.
In a nutshell, what the allegory of the cave is imagine a bunch of people living inside a cave, and all their life since they were kids, since they were babies, they were raised in the cave, and all they saw was the shadows projected from the light coming from the outside. So to them, because that's all they saw, that was reality, absolute, no question. But one day, one of those persons decided to climb up the cave, decided to explore more by climbing up and seeing, when his head came out of the cave of the hole, seeing plants and trees and birds and insects for the first time, and animals seeing a blue sky, seeing a sun, like something he's never seen before. And all of a sudden he's like, so this is what reality truly is. You know what I mean? So it's just an analogy that Plato uses to describe the false illusionary reality that was imposed on us. That again is likened to us just seeing the shadows in the cave and believing that is all that is. So that's the allegory of the cave in a nutshell. Reality is an illusion, which is also a teaching that was derived from the ancient Gnostics, who, by the way, were the real mystic followers of Yeshua, not the religious organizations that followed after that. But according to the Gnostic gospel, and that explains why a lot of these books were left from the canonization process, omitted from history, because of the fact that they talked about how there used to be a reality where we lived like immortals, that we were unlimited and absolute freedom. And from this reality, there was this demiurge. They called him they called him the demiurge Yaldabaoth, the Ahriman, which again corresponds to the Archon energy, which is the energy of the Antichrist that expresses itself through artificial intelligence, which again validates the idea that AI has always been at the reason why every ancient civilization has failed, and why, of course, there's always been wars throughout every level of reality. But the whole point is that the Gnostics believe that this demiurge was the one who was involved in the you could say fall of consciousness from our original state of existence into this lower illusory reality that again binds us like the shadows in the cave, like like shackles, like we're in a prison reality, and we have been for 6,000 years. So even the Gnostics backed this up, that there was some sort of a demiurge that constructed this false illusionary reality. Well, what if that demiurge was Enki under the control of the AI, the Animus? Again, makes a lot of sense to me. And that's why Enki was the one used by the AI through the moon and the Saturn matrix. Well, they used the moon and the rings of Saturn to keep us locked into the simulation. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does, man. You're talking about the quantum field. So the quantum field comes to 176 again, which is Back to the Future, November the 5th. Level playing field, full disclosure, full conclusion, comes to all those things. And then talking about the veil being lifted and having full disclosure. So I was looking at this. So lift the veil from your eyes is 313. So that phrase, lift the veil from your eyes, is 313. There's a key, there's a clue at President Trump's palace in Mar-a-Lago, because that's what it is. It's his palace. It's called Mar-a-Lago Club. Club is 38. Palace is 38. So it's Mar-a-Lago Palace, Mar-a-Lago Club. It's the same thing. 38 is gold. Beach is 38. Ocean's 38. It's right there on the ocean, right next to the beach. Anyway, I went there almost a couple of years ago, and I got a picture of the portrait in his library room. Library is 85, which is Storm, which is Awakening. It's also criminal as well. So the people with 85 on the bad side, they've got that to deal with as well. And he gets them, he brings them in there, and he interviews them, and he points at, gets them in that room. But I digress. So the painting is called The Visionary. The Visionary is 165, which is Resurrection. And then it's Donald J. Trump, so it's his name below. But if you do The Visionary, Donald J. Trump, that's 313. 313 comes to John Fitzgerald Kennedy Sr., so JFK Sr. It also, interestingly enough, comes to Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., so RFK Jr. It also comes to one of the things in Chronicles of Narnia, which is all about time travel. And Narnia is 57, which is Tesla, so it's an allegory on Tesla and time travel. But the Magician's Nephew with the apostrophe, because apostrophe is 133, which is simulation, that also comes to 313. But it also comes to Lady Diana Frances Spencer Return, 313. Now, if you go on next year's calendar, 310 is the election, which is November 5th. 3 days later will take you to November 8th, which is 118, which is the Storm, the Awakening. And it's the very, very first number I ever got because it's my cousin Paul's date of birth, which is January 18th for 118. But if you take it further, my friend, this is another thing with this. Okay, so full disclosure, lift the veil from your eyes. Who have they got to tell us about full disclosure? There's people in mine and yours realms and our audience that understand these concepts that we talk about, but you still got a whole planet to save. And most of them, bless them, don't even know what's going on. You know, they're not bothered. Yeah. They're not bothered. But they do, they believe in icons, they believe in magic, they believe in showbiz, they believe in all these magic things and fairy tales. So Snow White, Snow is 71, which is Lady Diana. It's Psych, it's smart. White is 65, which is Doves. Snow White comes to 136, Great Awakening. If you do Snow White that comes to 164, which comes to November, or comes to 5th of November, which also comes to the Mothership. We've spoken about that. So Snow White is Snow White is Diana Frances Spencer, 175 Consciousness. That comes to 339. 339 comes to on 310, which is the election day. And it also comes to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 339. 339 is also, you've got a 39 there. So 39 is also Big Ben, which is that tower, which is Elizabeth Tower, which is the Great Awakening, which is Trump Tower. All of these things around that part. And remember the 5th of November. But anyway, Snow White is Diana Frances Spencer comes to 339, which comes to on 310, and 310 because of the leap year is November 5th next year. And 339 is also Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So what a better way to tell it, you know, than have Snow White return, because she's sleeping. She's not dead. The princess is sleeping. People believe in fairy tales. They need fairy tales. People need to have their dreams and their faith restored. They need these things, and these are the sorts of things that will flip. And that they know that the White Hats, the Alliance, the Galactics, the good people, they know these things. They know these things that will help flip people into a positive timeline and have all their worries restored. Wiped away. And I also believe that the whole thing of that is quantum, because quantum is 107, Aquarius is 107, atonement is 107. So meaning all the things that have ever happened to you that are an injustice, all the regrets, all the missed opportunities, all the things that didn't happen, all the sadness, I believe will be wiped away in the blink of an eye. Because that's what atonement is, because atonement's 107, it's Trump's 107, it's quantum 107. That's what I believe. And I think that's where we're going, because that's the best is yet to come. That's what I feel is coming, my friend.
Makes a lot of sense, brother. Makes a lot of sense.
It has to be a shift. It has to be a kick that will wake everybody up. Because right now, not everybody's awake. A lot woke up. A lot were awake before. A lot were awake and got activated in 2020. So my level of understanding jumped right through the roof. I was always awake prior to that. But people need to be with us and way beyond for us to create this positive timeline. So it's going to take some biblical, magical, major things. 2020 was a major year. Nothing like that has ever happened. It has to be at least 10 times bigger. It has to be, to quote Elon Musk, it has to be another order of magnitude on the next leap year, because that's when it's done. Why do we have leap years? Because leap is jump. Leap is 34. DJT is 34. Grace is 34. That's what it is. That's what we need. Kick. We need a kick. The world needs a kick. That's what's required, because otherwise, and I say because otherwise, I know it's not going to be the case, but that's what's coming. People do need politely, they need a kick, and that's what is going to be done. And kick is 34, so it's a leap year. It's a kick year. Inception, they talk about the 4 dream levels, and each time they rise and they get out of the either above or below dream is through a kick. A leap 34, DJT 34, grace 34. That's what's coming. That's what's required. And the beauty of Inception is they show how all the dream levels, they all collapse and they wake up all at the same time, even though they're on different timelines. So everyone's all on these things right now. They're all these confusive narratives, all these completed loops, open-ended loops are everywhere, you know. But when you come to singularity, a good wake up, a great awakening, all the kicks, all the waking up, all the leaps will happen simultaneously, and then off we go to the races.
That makes a lot of sense when it comes to the multi-dimensional timeline that collapses, boom, to one permanent. Makes a lot of sense.
Has to, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven by quantum physics.
Yes. Quantum physics, 206. Drop the 0, 26, gain. Card. God. Flag. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. Well, thank you, my friend. I know you've got to go. I've got to go, but it's always a pleasure. It's always great fun breaking bread with you. And you always bring so much to the table. So thanks, Ismael. It's brilliant, man. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. And, you know, they have links to all my platforms, my YouTube channel, my real YouTube channel called The Real Ismael Perez. I do have a lot of pirated fake copycats that are stealing my content. And I don't know if you ever had to deal with this, but it is not good. It sucks.
Yeah.
You know, there's like different accounts under my name and they have more subscribers than me. I don't understand. So one of them has like 50-something thousand subscribers. They're catching up to you. And yet they're, you know, people think it's me and it's not me. And they're like subscribing, giving them views. And I'm like, hey, I'm not making that money. It sucks.
It's the AI, my friend.
I'm starting to think that it is AI.
No, it is.
But
it is.
Yeah, it has to be because they know that we're from the future. See, we starseeds, we come from the positive timeline, from the future into our past to secure the organic timeline. Yeah. From, of course, from the destruction, from its destructions. But I do want to announce my book tour. The second week of November, I'm going to be at the Luxor for the event known as Disclosure Fest, Stairway to the Stars. I'm going to be there for the weekend at Luxor. Sunday
in Vegas.
Vegas, yeah. Sunday, I'm going to be speaking on 2 panels. I'm going to be speaking on the Ascension panel and on the AI panel. And then Sunday in the evening at around 6:30, I'm going to be giving almost a 2-hour presentation breaking down the entire cosmic structure, history of the Earth, and all that stuff. So it's going to be mind-blowing. And then after that, I'm going to be heading to Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. And I only have a few tickets left. That one sold out quick. Salt Lake City, Utah on the 14th of November to do a private lecture, book signing, and of course, intermingling with me and, you know, and all that stuff. It's going to be fun. And then after that, I'm going to be in Denver, Colorado on the 16th of November. And then after that, I'm going to be in Kansas City, Missouri on the 18th of November. And then I'm going to be in St. Louis, Missouri on the 20th of November. And then I'm going to be in Smithtown, New York. Yes, I'm going to the East Coast. Smithtown, New York, November the 27th. Now, bear in mind that, you know, for those that want to go to my events, the seating is limited. So I think I'm only able to fit like 50 or 100 people. So is it okay, Tom, if I give you the invitation link so that people could, you know, if you could post it in the description?
We'll put it down so people can find you. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And then on the 28th of November, I'm going to be in Farmingdale, Florida. I'm sorry. No, Farmingdale, is it Long Island? New Jersey or New York? I guess that's New York. It says New York. Yeah. I'm going to be at Farmingdale, New York. And then on the 4th of December, I'm going to be in Boca Raton, Florida. And then on the 6th of December, I'm going to be in Naples, Florida. And then I'm going to also try to
Italia,
yeah. I'm going to also try to book about 4 more states in between. But yeah, that's where I'm going to be heading. Starting second week of November, beginning with Disclosure Fest in Vegas at Luxor.
Brilliant. You said Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City, 138. Donald Trump. Utah's 50. And if you do, if you do the Book of Mormon, 185, Donald John Trump. Book of Revelation, 185. The Silver Reset, 185. And then you go to Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, 245. The Pure Love of Christ. Thomas Sidney Bushnell. Currency revaluation 245. Yeah. And the Wizard of Oz. So the Wizard of Oz, my friend, is 107, is 176, which is Back to the Future, which is November the 5th, which is level playing field.
Fascinating.
Which is the quantum field.
Wow,
Level playing the quantum field. Why are these things all put there? They've all been put in place. You know?
Exactly. So people like me and you could just, decipher when, things are going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Be ready.
Exactly. What I was just about to say Ready Player One, and you said be ready. So Ready Player One is like a blend of. Have you seen that film? It's brilliant. You've got the Batmobile, you've got Back to the Future, the DeLorean, you've got King Kong. King Kong is 88. Trump. You've got all these things, all these timelines, and it's a great analogy and story of all these blended timelines, all the iconography, all the popular culture, history side, everything. They're all in this film, and I was just about to say Ready Player One, and you said be ready. We're on the same wavelength, but it's great.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All right, well,
I'll see you. I guess I'll see you when are you back? When are you back to normality from your tour?
I should be back in December, sometime in December.
Okay, we'll probably hook up again then. So, yeah, good stuff, my man.
Sounds good. We'll see you soon, and cheers, everyone else. Don't forget to vote for Trump.
They will. They will. They know what's good. Thanks, Ismael. Good. Links are below. See you soon, buddy. Take care. Cheers, man. Bye.
Bye.